One thing that's important for people to know is that all of us are broken in a sexual way. All of us. And the Christian message, part of the Christian message, is that through Israel and now the church, God has been forming a countercultural family, a community that reflects Him and His values and the values and mores that He made us to showcase. God has blessed us with a whole bunch of things, but because we're sinful people, we abuse those blessings and we use them in a way that He didn't intend and that He doesn't like. Food, alcohol, money, and sex. One thing is really clear when you look at the scriptures, because God has to list all the ways in which people twist the gift of sex, it means that all of us, no matter who you are, we're all pretty messed up sexually. Leviticus 18 is the law code where God lays out the sexual guardrails for His people, and it says a lot of things, including homosexuality, but also including a whole bunch of other things. Leviticus 18 verses 1 through 5, he tells he tells his people that they're not supposed to be like unbelievers. He tells them the wrong ways in which outsiders live out their sexuality. And then he says, basically, if you belong to me, you can't act like that. So, what are these sexual relationships that God condemns that shows we are all broken sexually? Sometimes it involves homosexuality, other times it involves other things, but we're all broken. Leviticus 18 verses 6 to 18 condemns sex among family members, and it lists all sorts of ways that can happen. Leviticus 18:6, the Bible reads, "None of you shall approach any one of his close relatives to uncovered nakedness. I am the Lord." You shouldn't do that because you saying you belong to me. And he goes on to list some examples, verses 7 and 8. You have improper relationships with a mother or a stepmother. Then you have a sister and a stepsister. Then you have a granddaughter. Then you have a half sister, an aunt, a daughter in law, sister in law. Polygamous relationships between a woman and her daughter or granddaughter. And all sorts of things, all sorts of different combinations and ways that broken sexuality gets lived out in a world. So, what does all this mean? It means that these are all disordered sexual relationships. It's taking the gift of sex and twisting it the wrong way. Outsiders, people who aren't part of God's family, outsiders live like that. And God's point is that if you belong to me, you can't live like that. You can't live like that. He goes on in the rest of the chapter, talks about protection for the wife against an inconsiderate husband at a certain time of the month, talks about condemning adultery, condemning child sacrifice to pagan gods, condemning homosexuality, and then condemning bestiality. So when you look at this list, what it means a bunch of things, but one thing it really means is that all of us, every single one of us, are broken sexually. How many people, how many of you have suffered as a result of someone else's sexual sin? How many people have had impure sexual thoughts? And so God's guardrails exclude homosexuality. They put homosexuality outside of those guardrails, but they also go far beyond it too and admit a whole bunch of disordered sexual desires and appetites outside the realm of holiness and godliness. And today, in our culture, homosexuality is just the most visible version of this sexual brokenness. So remember, you are broken sexually, and so am I. We are all broken sexually. But, Psalm 86:5 says, "The Lord is good and forgiving, abounding in steadfast love to all who call upon Him."